Alright guys, let's do a little bit of Prince Harry's interview with Tom Bradbury, and thank you Jackie for recommending this video to, that was the first person I saw recommending it. I'm not going to say your last name or put your name up there. I don't know if that's the preference to give the shout out, but you might want privacy, but I'm sure she knows who she is. Thank you for that recommendation, and keep giving me those recommendations. I'm going to do this week 2 videos a day, and we'll see how that goes. So let's get right into this interview.
California to talk about a book that I needed a long lie down.
That's funny. He needs a long lie down.
She had to play the long game. A campaign aimed at marriage and eventually the crown.
Do you still believe in the monarchy?
So that just sounds really dramatic to me. Like, she played the long game, and that to me sounds like, again, he's trying to use language and narrative that's painting everybody in the worst possible light. And that's another interesting thing too, is sometimes you see people who really see the worst in others and see others as being really conniving. That's kind of how they think, right? Because they are like, ooh, what's everyone doing around me? So, or what can I do? And they're looking for that in other people. So I think that kind of says bad things about someone when their book paints everybody as thinking in a certain way when you don't know how they're thinking. So that's a reflection of the author.
Yes. Do you believe you'll play a part in his future?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh.
I love my mother country. And I love my family. And I always will. I just wish, at the second darkest moment of my life, they'd both been there for me.
That's a joke. And, you know, that's just so melodramatic, so overdone. Like, I love my country. Just like this fake high road. Like, I love them and I always have loved them. But they betrayed me. I'm just perfect and I've always loved them. But they just weren't there for me in the hardest times. It's so hard being a prince. Then, yeah, I think that's just dramatic and pretty nonsensical.
A flamethrower to them.
Well, they've shown absolutely no willingness to reconcile.
That's nonsense.
If you will forgive the
wow.
the title and unspare it.
You know, I'm actually glad I'm doing this at the same time as the engagement interview. Look how different he is. Just like the anger and resentment he's showing. Like, he really seems like a different person. Again, I'm not saying he didn't have aspects of this before, but just he has like a bad energy to him if you compare to how he comes off in the past.
Account of an extraordinary life. There's a fair amount of drugs, marijuana, magic mushrooms, cocaine. I mean, that's going to surprise people.
But important to acknowledge.
He calls it the simple truth.
I would like to get my father back. I would like to have my brother
dude,
back.
You're so full of
If
it.
so,
That is such BS. And again, you see now, it's just like Meghan. It's like, you know, her father, it's like he chose to do something without our approval, and I wish he wasn't taken from me. They've used that exact language about Meghan Markle's father, saying he was taken from them, or taken from her, as if she's a victim, when she's choosing to cut them out. Same thing with him. And that's just annoying. Again, we can appreciate someone who's like an upfront jerk, like, oh, F my family, but I'm the best. But to play this, like, both sides is really, really annoying.
much of it is just jaw-dropping.
Harry, the interview.
Harry, the interview. What an original name.
Haha, good joke.
Holistic account of your life, and I'd say to anyone who's sitting down to watch this tonight, whatever you think, whatever's gone before, this book takes things to a whole new level because it's a complete account for of your life.
I'm kind of
However,
bored.
I think I do have to start with a simple question, which is why? Why have you written it?
Oh, let's see
38
this.
years. 38 years of having my story told by so many different people, with intentional spin and distortion.
You know, I would disagree, and again, I feel bad, I don't remember, this was a long time ago, but someone commented to me that he was, regardless of what he says, or in spite of it, likely protected by the royal family, right? I mean, he's talking about he's doing drugs, you know, which is not good for you. I know it's really popular now, like, oh, drugs are good, but they're not. So he was kind of like a party guy, he was a mess. Probably if he were not in the royal family, I'm not saying he was always a bad guy, maybe he'd be like working a minimum wage job and being in and out of jail and probation. So to be saying like, oh, the story is being told, like if you look objectively at this guy, it's like, okay, you're doing a lot of drugs, you're partying a lot, and you're not doing much else at times, his image, like objectively, not as a prince, not with any of the palace or having control over his image or helping his image, it would be worse than it was, right? Wasn't he one of the most liked royals? So again, just very much resentful baby victim mentality.
Felt like a good time to own my story and be given this
Own my
chance
story.
to. So I'm actually really grateful that.
Again, for me, like the your story or like your truth, I mean, my story's not quite as bad as your truth, but again, I think it just is part of this like narcissistic kind of idea and culture. Like your truth is the worst because it's like the truth is the truth. There's no your truth, but like this like my story, I'm so important. And this sort of stuff makes people feel like victims because they feel so important, like my story is so important and my beliefs are so important that anything that does not go their way is like victimizing them, as we see with Meghan, we see with Harry nowadays, with a lot of people.
I had the opportunity to tell my story because it's my story to tell.
Now, pretty much everyone watching this will be from a family. And the idea that someone in the family is going to tell the world all the family arguments and secrets would be very difficult for people. And of course, the accusation will be,
yeah, this is going to be fun. But again, look at how he just looks different. Like his body language, his like overall demeanor is very different. If you look at the engagement interview, again, he does look dopey. Like it's like he was taken for a ride. But he has like this kind of dopey, go-lucky naiveness to him. Here it's just like this like, ugh. You know what I mean? Like, if I see him in the old interviews, it's like, that's a guy I would like. You know, he might be like goofy, but you might smile at him. If you saw this guy like in line at a store, you'd be like, that's a bad vibe. So this is going to be interesting. What his rationalization is for just throwing everyone under the bus, putting everyone's business out there.
you've done it to fund your new lifestyle.
Or false
you've
business he
traded
created.
family secrets. So how do you
Oh,
justify the level
let's see.
of disclosure that is in this book?
Well, there's been which I suppose lots of people know now, there was a family motto of never complain, never explain. And
Okay.
what people have realised now through the Netflix documentary and numerous stories coming out over the years is that was just a motto. There was a lot of complaining and there was a lot of explaining, and it continues now.
All right, so he's totally full of it. I think the term for that was a false equivalency. It's like, again, we do see, it's so funny how he got more similar to Meghan. The way that her father was treated, like you did this one little thing so that justifies anything I want to do, was like maybe occasionally some information came out that he did not want to come out, or he imagined it. Like, wasn't he suing people for hacking his phone or something, which did not happen, and that justifies him doing anything that he wants, right? Which, again, that's not how it works, and that's really entitled. I'm not saying necessarily everything that's ever happened was perfect. Like, no one's been treated perfectly. No one is perfect in their treatment of others, but I don't think that's how it works. You know, I've had like little arguments with family. That doesn't mean I go out and try and destroy them and say everything that I've ever heard from them, right? Like, there's this idea of like not crossing certain lines. And for him, it's just like, it's okay to cross any lines and no one can cross any of his. But maybe we'll get more into this. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this. I will see you soon.